Welcome to First Parish in Needham, a Unitarian Universalist. Is it on? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation of seekers, humanists, theists, atheists, agnostics, and interfaith families too. Lots is always happening in this community. You can find out all about it at our website, uuneedham.org, where you can sign up for our email newsletter if you like, or follow us on social media. Our order of service is online too, at the QR code in your pews and at the website uuneedham.updates.church. If you have questions or accessibility needs, just talk with an usher, a greeter, or a Zoom host. At First Parish, we covenant to live out our shared values of the inherent worth and dignity of every person, respecting the earth and co-creating beloved community. Whoever you are, whoever you love, whatever your background or identity, whatever your age or stage in life, whether you walked in or rolled in, you are welcome here. I am Becky Siebens. My late spouse, Dick, and I found a spiritual home here over a dozen years ago. October is Breast Care Awareness Month, and I'm fortunate to be a breast cancer survivor, so I'm here today to let you know about the cancer support group here. We are a warm, thoughtful group, open to anyone who has heard the words, "You have cancer," and has discovered how those words can change your life in profound ways. The group was initiated by a wonderful trio made up of Laura Long, Kay Taylor, and Joan Mexis about 8 years ago. We welcome folks with any kind of cancer, newly diagnosed or at any stage in the past or currently. We listen, share, learn, and support each other in this safe space, bound by this connection unlike any other. Our conversations range widely as we live our lives illuminated by the shared experience of cancer. We meet about once a month on Sundays before church at 9 o'clock on Zoom. If you'd like more information, please just let me know. Our next meeting is a week from today on Zoom. Welcome again to everyone right here in the building and folks online. We're so glad to share this time together.
As we light our chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, and light a colorful candle in honor of Intersex Awareness Day this Thursday, we read words from Euro-American UU minister Reverend Monica Jacobson-Tennyson. Welcome. What you bring, who you are, enriches us all. We say welcome to your joy, your hope, your pride. We say welcome to your grief, your fear, your anger, and the parts of you that are not yet ready to be seen and heard. Welcome to them as well. For we are people of faith. Faith in our expansive welcome, faith in our ability to grow, faith in the precious gift of our truths, faith in the promise of trying, learning, changing, faith in our capacity to know ourselves and each other ever more deeply. Welcome to you who are gay, straight, bi, pan, lesbian, queer, questioning, unable to be contained in any one word. Welcome to you who are trans, cis, genderqueer, non-binary, intersex, agender, beyond words. Welcome to you who are human. Welcome to you who love and are loved. Welcome to you who are blessed, which is all of you. May this time together be a blessing. Our opening hymn is Keep On Moving Forward, a rousing Emma's Revolution zipper song with many more verses for justice than we have time to sing today. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing Keep On Moving Forward. The lyrics are in your orders of service and on screen.
Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back.
In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, a covenant is a set of promises the membership of a congregation strives to honor with one another and out in the world. Whether we participate in our community online or in the building, we strive to live these promises every day. Please say along with me the words of our parish covenant. We gather as a loving community to encourage and comfort one another. We gather as a diverse community to support each other in our search for spiritual truth. We gather as a service community to live our beliefs through action and care for our world.
Good morning. It is so good to be here with all of you. I know that sometimes people like some preparation, so I'm going to let you all know now. I'm going to introduce our story for the day. And after I introduce it, I'm going to invite all who are young or young at heart, if you want to, maybe some young bunnies at heart, want to come sit on the steps with me while I read that book. So you can consider if that's you while I introduce our story today. Today we are talking about fascism. It's big, it's looming, it's huge. Fascism, systems and organizing of people to stop others from having choice, from feeling affirmed, from being welcomed. It's big. It's easy to get caught up in how big it is. Bigger than us as individuals, even bigger than us in this church. It easily feels insurmountable. And while the reality of those systems and laws and in movements are something to be paid attention to and a real thing to contend to or hurdle, it also allows us to forget that fascism is a movement moved by individuals, singular people that join together to make this happen. Which also means that we as individuals have the ability to band together and make something else possible. In the spirit of slowing down and considering where we fit together in fighting fascism, imagining a world where we work together to create something bigger, better, and brighter, let us listen to the words of this book, Something Someday, words by Amanda Gorman and pictures by Christian Robinson. May it be a reminder to all of us that there is something someday possible as long as we all as individuals work towards that future. And I'll invite everyone to come for the story. Because while I'm loud, I'm not quite loud enough. Excuse me, can I sit in the middle? Thank you. I'm not quite loud enough to be heard online without a mic. Mila, can you hold this mic for me, please, friend? Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to hold it like, you're the best mic stand ever. Thank you, Melina. Something someday. You are told that this is not a problem, but you're sure there is something wrong. You are told that this cannot be fixed, but you know that you can help. You are told that this is too big for you, but you've seen the tiniest things make a huge difference. You're told that this won't work, but how will you know if you never try? You're told to sit and wait, but you know people have already waited too long. You're told that what's going on is very, very sad, but you're not just sad. You're scared and confused and angry. And maybe, just maybe, a little hopeful. You're told not to hope, but you keep hoping anyways. Sometimes you feel like you're all alone, but someday, somewhere, you find a friend, someone who will hope with you, who believes in your dream, someone who will fight with you. You make a promise to each other. You say, there is a problem, but it's our problem together, so we can fix it together. The problem is big, but together, we are bigger. You make another friend and tell them it's okay to be sad. And they tell you, sometimes we'll lose, but that's all right. We'll try again. And so you do, together working, together beginning over and over and over and over. Until you're no longer beginning, you're winning. Suddenly there's something, you're sure it's right, something you know you helped fix, something small that changed something big, something that worked, something that makes you feel hopeful, happy, and loved. Something that is not a dream, but the day you live in. Something that makes you smile as you tell someone else. Something someday. May we all have an indomitable spirit and do it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah Elizabeth and the young and young at heart. As our children follow Sarah Elizabeth to their religious exploration opportunities today, let us join in singing Long Time Sun as printed in your orders of service and on screen.
May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on.
This is the time in our service when we share the joys and concerns that are very close to our hearts and our lives. For anyone not able to be in the church on Sunday, I'm receiving pre-submitted candles at candles@uuneedham.org. And if you can get them to me by the Friday before the service at midnight, I would appreciate it. If you're participating on Zoom or on YouTube, please do share your candles in the chat, that the whole community joining with you online can be participating. We have one pre-submitted candle this morning. It's from Elizabeth Rosa for her dear niece, Rosalie, who was admitted to Dana-Farber for a 5-week chemotherapy treatment of acute myeloid leukemia. Their whole family is worried but hopeful, and they're asking for our prayers, good wishes, and hopes from this community and all those around them. Please keep their beloved Rosalie in your hearts and minds. We light a candle. If you are in the building and have a joy or concern to share, please come forward, light a candle, and then state your name, and if you would please share your pronouns, and then briefly describe what is on your heart.
Hi, everyone. I'm Reverend Katie, she and hers, and I have both a candle of concern and a candle of great joy, both actually delayed because I still have post-COVID fog, which is slowing down my processing speed, so to speak. I have a candle of disappointment. I know many of you saw the announcement that we had hired an engagement coordinator after a search over the summer, and that you were supposed to meet him today. And on behalf of myself and our president, Elliot Chakowski, and our HR volunteer, Bruce Barnett, I'm sorry to tell you that actually that engagement coordinator resigned quite unexpectedly last weekend. I can't really say anything else about it because it's a personnel matter, but we did want to let you all know, but failed to actually send an email this week in the midst of reversing our onboarding and trying to figure out what we do next. Our search team will be starting up the search again, and so I'm sorry for the disappointment. I also completely forgot last week to share a candle of great joy that my newest niece, Jane Elizabeth Scudera, arrived on October 2nd, my brother's third child, second daughter. Jane and my sister-in-law are doing very well, and I'll be taking my daughter for an extremely quick trip to Virginia this week so that we can meet Jane for the first time and also celebrate the 5th birthday of my oldest niece, Emily. So welcome, Jane, to the world.
Good morning. My name is Beth Sargent, although I think most of you know me. This week we will be celebrating the anniversary of Jim's death. He died October 26th, 2022. And after church this morning, we will be scattering some of his ashes in the memorial garden and having a little scattering the ashes ceremony. He was a great lover of music. And he was, with me, founder of the Homegrown Coffee House, which is now in its 41st season. And so I'm putting out a little plug as well for the Homegrown Coffee House and saying that we are always looking for volunteers to help us out. Remember, your effort is your ticket to the show. So you always get to pick a show you want to see if you want to volunteer. So looking forward to working with more of you. And just know that Tom Gaiman, who is probably manning the meters today, and Chris Payhood and I are sort of the triumvirate who are running things for the Homegrown right now. But we welcome new people to come in and join us because it is a joyful experience.
I'm Becky Siebens, she, hers. I have a candle of great joy that my brother, who has been suffering from deep depression, is doing better. He has moved out of a psychiatric hospital, is now in a residential psychiatric facility and feeling better.
Good morning, I'm Janet Klein, she, hers. I actually have two joys to share. Some of you know that my husband was taken by ambulance to Newton Wellesley Hospital this week in a great deal of pain. He came home last night and he's doing better. They figured out what the problem was and we have a plan. So that's a great relief, day by day. And the other joy is that I had the great privilege to share Parish Hall with my in-laws' family for a memorial gathering for my brother-in-law's father. And everything worked together beautifully. Leslie helped make coffee. Eleanor cleaned the coffee pot afterwards. Freddie came in. The family set up the tables. Anyway, there were 80 or 100 people in Parish Hall, and they overwhelmingly talked about what a great vibration it was in the church, how impressed they were with the building. There were youths here from Newport, youths here from North Andover, musicians who had played in the Homegrown Coffee House many times. And so it was a great joy to share my other home with a bigger group. And I let everybody know that there's probably a UU church in a town near you, so check it out. We all feel good, so thank you so much. I really appreciate the community, all the help that I received when Steve was sick, and this wonderful joy to share the building. Thank you.
And now for all the joys and sorrows that remain silent in our hearts, and for the prayers of our neighbors near and far, we light a final candle. May the peace of this sanctuary be felt too, wherever you are participating from, as we remember that even though we are worshiping in different times and places, we are all still deeply connected. Please join me now in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Settle yourself into your seat. Let your body rest and your mind feel awakened. Breathe in and out. Our prayer this morning comes from Japanese-American UU minister, Reverend Leslie Takahashi. Spirit of life, God of love, hear this cry which begins with gratitude for the human ability to take action to right the wrongs of our kin. If you are the force of love, be loving to those dear ones who would rid the world of hatred and greed. If you are the force of possibility, the seed opportunity for those who believe they are forgotten. If you are a larger freedom, break the chains of oppression and ignorance in which so many lives are bound. If you are the power of healing, please, oh please, bring comfort to the little ones who are imprisoned away from their sources of comfort and care. Whatever you are, any force of the more which allows us to reach beyond this reality to a more inclusive and loving presence, give energy to these precious ones who would make a difference. And may their actions inspire all of us to do whatever is in our power to make it known that we will not allow our neighbors to be treated as less than human. Amen. Please remain seated and join in singing our meditative response, My Life Flows On in Endless Song. We'll sing verses 1 and 3 as in your order of service on the screen and at number 108 in your gray hymnals.
My life goes on in endless song, above us lamentation. I hear the reel of the far-off wind, that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vault, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
This congregation has been supported by the volunteered time and treasure of its members and friends since its founding in 1711. This is the time in our service when we, the modern stewards of this church, offer what we can to build and sustain the congregation and the world we envision. This month, our collections will be split 50-50 with the Metro West Worker Center. The Metro West Worker Center is an immigrant worker-led organization that defends and expands the labor, civil, and human rights of all workers in Greater Boston. Based out of Framingham, the center serves a multilingual and multiracial worker community and partners with non-immigrant allies and professionals to fight unjust laws and practices, such as wage theft and denied injured workers compensation. And they work to dismantle racism and xenophobia in the Boston area. During the pandemic, the Metro West Worker Center created Canasta Solidaria, Solidarity Basket, a program to give groceries and grocery gift cards to struggling immigrant families in Framingham and in Milford. To donate to today's offering, you can use one of 3 different methods as described in your orders of service and on screen. There's text to give. You can donate through our website, drop a cash or a check in the collection plate, or mail a check to First Parish. Whichever way you donate, please remember to specify whether your donation is meant for the plate collection or for your annual pledge. And if this is one of your first visits to First Parish, we encourage you to fill out a yellow card that should be in your pew back, to drop into the collection plate, or to fill out our online visitors form at uuneedham.updates.church. And many thanks this morning to Anne Brain for our beautiful flowers in memory of her sister, Judith. Thank you for everything you are able to give to help support and sustain the congregation and the world we envision. May the ushers now please come forward.
Our reading this morning comes from queer Black doula and activist Adrienne Marie Brown. These were her words in the wake of the mass shooting at a Las Vegas music festival 6 years ago this month. The gunman killed 60 people and wounded hundreds. Brown wrote, "We are living in impossible times. If it were fiction, it would be critiqued as hyperbolic. If it were nightmares, we would never sleep. We are living in times created by our own species. I can't remember the last time my tears weren't man-made. It feels like everything is broken. We must, each of us, fix our attention on the nearest wound, conjure within us the smallest parts of ourselves that are still whole, and be healers. Heal the words with prayer and energy, heal with money, clean water, time, and action. There's enough destruction. There's enough nothingness swallowing the living world. Don't add to it. There's enough. Our visions are ropes through the devastation. Look further ahead, like our ancestors did. Look further. Extend. Hold on. Pull. Evolve." Here ends our reading.
The most banned book in American public school districts for the past 2 years has been a graphic novel memoir for teens and young adults called Genderqueer, the same book you heard from Dara that we'll be reading and discussing at First Parish next month. Genderqueer was published in 2019 and shares the author's own experience with understanding her gender identity and the process of coming out to yourself, your friends, and your family. In an interview with NPR, the author, non-binary and disabled Euro-American cartoonist Maya Kobabe, said, "I just felt like there's some stuff going on with me about gender. I can't decide if I'm a girl who feels kind of like a boy, or if I'm a gay man trapped in a girl's body, or if I'm like a boy but in a very feminine way, or like, am I a lesbian?" It was very confusing. And I just kept feeling like I was trying on clothes that didn't fit. My biggest concern of my specifically teenage years and early 20s was just this: what am I? Where do I fit in all of this? The memoir Genderqueer follows this journey of self-discovery. And because this youth and young adult graphic novel includes talk of sexuality and gender identity, obviously, and romantic encounters, it was the most banned book in libraries and school districts in both 2021 and 2022. It may win again this year. Many politicians in bad faith have described this memoir as unsuitable for children, which the author agrees that it is, pretending that because it's a graphic memoir that it's essentially a comic book. It's a misleading political attack that marginalizes and stigmatizes LGBTQ people. Kobabe has been interviewed many times now about how he feels about your book being the most banned book in the nation. In an interview with PEN America, he said, "If I'd had a book to read like this, specifically, when I was like a freshman in high school, it would have saved me years of questioning and confusion about my identity and could have really helped me figure out who I was and how I wanted to interact with people through the world and who I wanted to be much sooner." Originally, Kobabe wrote it for her own parents to help them understand M, and it did help. And it is helping queer teens and young adults. And that's why our Welcome Renewal team at First Parish is encouraging all of us queer and allies to read the memoir as well. Local Black professor of government and politics, Dr. Christopher Rhodes, wrote recently about book bans. The danger of this practice is not only that it is used to justify censorship of ideas and history, an anti-democratic tactic that is a common feature of authoritarianism. The even more disturbing progression of these policies is that it has been eventually turned from the targeting of ideas, giving way to the targeting of groups of people associated with those ideas. He continues, I'm reminded of First They Came, the poem that encapsulated the regret felt by German priest Martin Niemöller over the church's failure to stand up to the growing Nazi menace over the years. When they came for the 1619 Project and then for the so-called critical race theorists, few spoke up outside the black community. Now this movement is coming after LGBTQ voices, dedicated educators, and seems bent on generally silencing those seeking to express views that don't match their ultra-conservative, fascist-like ethos. They're coming for the country, and if not checked, they will do their best to silence all the voices that could oppose them. Rhodes reminds his readers that we ought not just throw the term fascist around, and that he's using the term with precision. Book bans are but one of many symptoms of rising fascist ideology and methodology in the United States. Black genderqueer organizer and author Ezra Dixon wrote, "Fascism is a set of political practices fundamentally based in upholding rigid identity-based hierarchies. These hierarchies manifest in forms of supremacy. Fascists believe that democracy has failed them and allowed the majority, in the US, white Christian men, to be tyrannized by the communities that have no right to power. Therefore, fascists seek to eliminate both democratic processes and marginalized communities, to return to a fictitious and glorified past where their power reigned unchecked. Fascist movements worldwide seek to take over all aspects of public and private life and to eliminate people and communities who don't conform to their worldview. That elimination of difference and any people or communities that hold such difference is noted as well by 20th century Black author and educator Toni Morrison. The genius of fascism, she wrote, is that any political structure can host the virus and virtually any developed country can become a suitable host. Fascism talks ideology, but it is really just marketing for power. It is recognizable by its need to purge, by the strategy it uses to purge, and by its terror of truly democratic agendas. Unitarian Universalists, among many others in the United States, are paying attention to scholars and anti-fascist activists because we see the swelling of fascist ideologies and behaviors around the world, here in the United States, and even within Unitarian Universalist communities. We should not bury our heads in the sand and have a "it can't happen here" attitude. A recent survey about American Christian nationalism done by the Public Religion Research Institute and the Brookings Institute found that, while 30% of Americans completely rejected the 5 following statements, almost 20% agreed with the statements, and 10% of Americans strongly agreed. The statements were, the US government should declare America a Christian nation. US laws should be based on Christian values. If the US moves away from our Christian foundations, we will not have a country anymore. Being Christian is an important part of being truly American, and God has called Christians to exercise dominion over all areas of American society. I know this is the kind of rhetoric that is used by authoritarians, but truly I feel like statements like this, the founding fathers would be just rolling in their graves, especially Benjamin Franklin. Could you even imagine? 30% of Americans agree or strongly agree with those 5 statements. 30%. Closer to home, many of you will remember ongoing anti-Semitic, racist, and anti-LGBTQ graffiti and bullying in Needham Public Schools. You may remember or be aware of parents' rights groups in Wellesley and in Natick attempting to remove LGBTQ and anti-racist programming from their schools. The Needham Free Public Library has reached out to me privately in the past so I could help them advertise their drag story hours, for which they were not doing any public advertising. They were advised from other librarians in Massachusetts to keep it quiet, lest local white supremacists show up to protest. At the 2019 National UU Gathering of General Assembly, a UU minister handed out copies of his own self-published essay collection that questioned whether UUs of color and trans UUs were really telling the truth about their experiences of oppression, and claiming that Unitarian Universalism was going too far in its efforts to center those historically marginalized in our faith tradition. The examples, sadly, go on and on. At this June's National UU Ministers Association gathering, Euro-American UU Minister Reverend Cecilia Kingman delivered a keynote lecture with an essay entitled, "My Little Pony Was Right, Reflections of Fascism Without and Within." She offers wonderful examples of My Little Pony TV episodes to talk about fascism and anti-fascist organizing, and I'll let you find those yourself by watching her full essay or reading it. Near the beginning of her essay, Reverend Kingman summarizes the work of Dr. Jason Stanley, a Jewish-American author and professor of philosophy and propaganda. Stanley defined 10 interlocking and inseparable tactics of fascism, such as promoting various types of supremacies, constructing a narrative of a mythic utopian past, creating a present unreality wherein leaders demand allegiance to lies that are easily proven untrue, endorsing violence as necessary to maintain law and order, and believing that law and order and the women and children are under threat from various outgroups, typically people and communities who have been historically oppressed but have in recent decades made gains in legal equal treatment and cultural acceptance. Perhaps you've heard the phrase that for those accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression. Reverend Kingman explains that fascism is happening when many of these elements are present, especially when people are told that they are under an existential threat from the created other. This returns us to the feature of fascism that eliminates difference and to the banning of books like Genderqueer. Reverend Kingman said, "Fascists endorse conformity and control because for fascists to remain in power, they must limit all true expressions of human freedom. Freedom overthrows hierarchies, and without hierarchies, there is no way to retain the power fascists seek. This is a specific reason why we are seeing a focused attack on trans rights at this moment. Fascists attempt to keep everyone within the narrow roles prescribed to us and will punish or eliminate anyone who deviates. They intend to make us all conform." And I would emphasize, those with fascist ideologies intend to make us all conform to their false belief in the way things have always been, to a past that has never happened, never existed, wherein all people happily fell in line with the rules of white supremacy, cis heteropatriarchy, classism, ableism, Christian nationalism. It is frightening. And before we fall into despair, unless you already have, so sorry. Before we fall into despair about the fascist bent we're seeing worldwide, let's remember our ancestors who successfully fought back against fascist tides. 20th century Jewish American historian, veteran, activist, and educator Dr. Howard Zinn wrote in his autobiography, "There is a tendency to think that what we see in the present moment, we will continue to see. We forget how often we have been astonished by the sudden crumbling of institutions, by extraordinary changes in people's thoughts, by unexpected eruptions of rebellion against tyrannies, by the quick collapse of systems of power that seemed invincible. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. If we remember those times and places, and there are many, where people behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live in defiance of all that is bad around us is itself a marvelous victory. Perhaps some of us here have familial ancestors who fought for the abolition of slavery or for voting rights during women's suffrage and the civil rights movement, or who served in World War II for the Allies or the resistance movements. Some of us ourselves fought for freedom and equity through the civil rights movement, the women's rights movement, the marriage equality movement, the Occupy movement. We ought not forget our Unitarian Universalist spiritual ancestors who were part of the anti-slavery Secret Six, who led women's suffrage organizing, who defied the Nazis, who welcomed immigrants, who worked for peace and justice. Let's remember the phrase, popularized by Black civil rights leader Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and originated by 19th century Euro-American Unitarian preacher and activist Reverend Theodore Parker, that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. The more we learn, the more we build partnerships and friendships, the more we act, reassess, and act again, the more we help bend that arc. We are called by our faith to rise up against fascist ideologies and methodologies. Let's hear again from Ezra Dixon. The goal of fascists is to scare leftists into stopping a progressive agenda. Yet to truly defeat fascism, we must create the opposite. Movements that are so vibrant and relevant to everyday people that the allure of fascism is eliminated. Leftists need to focus on the strategies of creating liberatory governance where people have access to their needs, freedom within their bodies, and rights separate from societal hierarchies. This is what scares fascists the most, that the left will envision and execute a world that eliminates the hierarchies upon which they depend. This is the number one thing we can do to fight fascism, continue to co-create a better world where fascist ideologies and false histories cannot survive. We can do this in so many ways. We can read the books that fascists are banning. We can celebrate difference and create opportunities for respect and friendship between those of different identity groups. We can support voting access and rights locally and nationally. We can make sure there's water and snacks at the protest. We can speak up when we hear fake news, discriminatory language, and any kind of othering of historically marginalized groups. We can ourselves refuse to use fascist methods, avoiding creating others and enemies, and remembering every person's inherent dignity. And we can follow the leadership of those historically marginalized, building effective coalitions for legislative advocacy and civil disobedience. Each action we take bends the arc of the moral universe away from conformity and violence and toward peace among diversity and justice. We are stronger when we work together, when we support each other, shore up our values and our courage, and combine our passion with our numbers. As we heard from Black Catholic poet and activist Amanda Gorman via Sarah Elizabeth this morning, the problem is big, but we are bigger. I'll leave you with this powerful poem from Jewish American activist and writer Marge Piercy. How can you stop them? Alone you can fight, you can refuse, you can take what revenge you can, but they roll over you. But two people fighting, back to back, can cut through a mob. A snake dancing file can break a cordon, an army can meet an army. Two people can keep each other sane, can give support, conviction, love, massage, hope, sex. Three people are a delegation, a committee, a wedge. With four, you can play bridge and start an organization. With six, you can rent a whole house, eat pie for dinner with no seconds, and hold a fundraising party. A dozen make a demonstration, 100 fill a hall, 1,000 have solidarity and your own newsletter, 10,000 power and your own paper, 100,000 your own media, 10 million your own country. It goes on one at a time. It starts when you care to act. It starts when you do it again, And they say no. It starts when you say we and know who you mean. And each day, you mean one more. Blessed be, and amen. Our closing hymn, Wake Now My Senses, was written by retired UU minister, Reverend Dr. Thomas Mickelson, for the installation and ordination of Reverend Charity Rowley as Minister of Religious Education at the local First Parish in Arlington. We'll be singing verses 1, 3, and 4 of Wake Now My Senses. Please rise or in body or in spirit. For our hymn, the lyrics are in your orders of service on screen and at number 298 in your hymnals.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth fall. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your love. Giving, receiving as love shows us now. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend. Praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race.
As we draw to the close of our service, we have, as usual, a lot of announcements. The first is to please join us at social hour, and when you go into Parish Hall, you might notice something different. There are tables set up with tablecloths and chairs. You're encouraged to join your friends and sit down for a more comfortable conversation during our social hour. At 12:30 or sometime after social hour ends, we'll be scattering Jim Sargent's ashes in the Memorial Garden. Please do plan to join us if you're here. Welcoming Congregation Renewal, as we all heard, is doing a book discussion in November of Gender Queer. You can buy copies during social hour. The Big Question Forum, How Do You Navigate and Negotiate Change, is going to be held this Tuesday, October 24th at 7:30 p.m. in the parlor. It's going to be in person only, so please check your bell notes for details on that. The toddler parent group, the new parent group we didn't have because those who had children during the pandemic lockdown didn't get to have new parent groups. That starts this afternoon and is at 3 and will go till 4:30, also in the parlor. Next Saturday, the Homegrown Coffee House, Abby Gardner will be performing. That's Saturday, October 28th. Next Sunday, our service is a multi-generational service, and it will have interactive elements. So please plan to come. And if that's not enough of an enticement, social hour is going to be a potluck. Bring your favorite fall treat to share with your friends and fellow congregants. It's going to be fun. Laura's clapping, y'all, so bring good treats. Okay, now our regular weekly events. We have Fleet Feet on Wednesday mornings, Writing Escapes, Mindfulness on Thursdays, and Creative Escapes on Fridays. See bell notes for times and other details. Phew, okay, everybody. We always extinguish our chalice with words promising to carry its flame in our hearts until we are together again, no matter how long it is until we are all together again. Please join me from home or here in the building in saying those words written by UU Minister Reverend Elizabeth Sally Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
As we close our worship today, take these words from queer Euro-American UU minister and graduated First Parish ministerial intern, Reverend Lucas Hergert, with you as a benediction. We are democracy, people of principles taking on principalities, witnessing the worth of those called unworthy. Justice now gaining ground, integrity of interdependent existence, extending living democracy in heads, hands, hearts. We know that democracy can die, ossify, brittle byproducts of bygone idealists, plotting politicians, pirating votes, corporations, cannibalizing our care for the world. Look, it can wither, distend, come to an end. Democracy, today we will love you alive, make you ours, make you thrive, and vote as though our hope is on the line. May we continue to fight against fascism and for democracy, equality, and justice. Our service begins when our service ends. Blessed be, and amen.